Hi, Queen. This is so cool. So glad that you are adding this to your ministry, as I like to call it. I've been connecting with you since 2023, and you have truly been a blessing. One of the things I remember we discussed actually on Patreon in 2025, now that it's 2026, you asked a question regarding, I'm going to paraphrase it, basically words you didn't hear as a child or something that meant something to you in your past, but you didn't realize it. And I shared hearing the words, "I love you," from my mom. We're from Trinidad. And just looking back of even my grandmother, they showed love, but hearing the words, "I love you, my child," "I love you, my daughter," those weren't words of affirmations that you heard, but you saw the love, you felt the love. So I think that's something we could probably talk about in your podcast. Something that was missing as a child that may have affected you in your adulthood. And we know that a lot of things, including our love languages, I learned that it's kind of based on what you didn't get as a child. So if my love language is words of affirmation, and I realized I didn't get that growing up. My dad, yes, he was very affectionate. He showed love. He spoke words of affirmation. But my mom, the nurturer, did not. But I knew she loved us. It was 3 of us, still is. But yeah, I think that would be a good subject.
Hey, hoping everyone is good. Hoping everyone is great. As you can hear, we got our first caller. And I am so happy you guys have been definitely utilizing this feature. And at the end, for y'all who have not been listening or maybe just new to the podcast, I want to tell you how you can utilize this feature to call in and ask questions or give suggestions for podcast episodes. So this was a question that was posed on Patreon, and we were talking about love languages, I believe. And it was an indicator of what was it in our lives that we didn't receive that we may have wanted to. And it's early on, in our childhood, we recognize some things that our parents didn't give us, or in our adulthood, we recognize that, I wish mama would have done, daddy would have done all of these things, because we recognize it in the patterns, which shows up in our friendships, in our relationships. And I for many of us, we don't realize that our adult relationship struggles, they are often connected to needs that were never fully met early on. And so when those needs go unrecognized, we may unknowingly place responsibility for them onto other people, which can create a lot of disappointment, resentment, and a lot of conflict. And so with this episode, I want us to recognize those patterns. I want us to understand why awareness matters. And I want us to learn how to communicate our needs without making people feel pressured, blamed, or alienated. I'll share on a personal note that, like the caller, my mother was not hands-on. She wasn't touchy-feely, we didn't hug. I love you was not something that was said. Good morning was not something that was said. It was just a known that my mother's way of showing love was, you got clothes, you got food to eat, and a roof over your head. But that was based on how she was raised as well. My dad was, he wasn't touchy-feely, we didn't hug and all of those things, but my dad was great with words of affirmation. So because words of affirmation came and our communication so strong, I didn't need to be hugged. I didn't need to necessarily be told that I love you, because what he poured into me every single day was higher than anything else that I felt like I needed on the back end. With my parents, as far as discipline, my dad was one who'd rather talk than to spank. So if I was in the wrong about doing something, my mother would immediately, and again, this is the way that she was raised. So I want us to correlate the differences in the lines when it comes to our parents. As children, We depend on our caregivers to meet our emotional and physical needs. And that includes things like affection, encouragement, attention, reassurance, and feeling emotionally safe. Safe is my word with anybody. And we also know that not everyone grew up in a home where those things were consistently available. Some parents were emotionally distant. Some were overwhelmed, working constantly, or dealing with their own unresolved trauma. Others also loved their children deeply, but didn't know how to express it in ways that the child may have needed. And so when certain things and needs aren't met, children often internalize that absence. They may not consciously remember it, but the lack still shapes how they relate to others. So, for example, a child who rarely receives affection may grow up to be an adult who craves physical closeness. A child who wasn't verbally affirmed may become an adult who needs reassurance all the time to feel secure. A child who didn't have quality time may struggle with feeling ignored or unimportant in relationships. And to be honest, those needs do not disappear. And so as adults, unmet childhood needs often show up as strong emotional reactions in relationships. And I'm sure y'all know about that. So we may feel deeply hurt when we are texting someone, right? And those texts go unanswered. We may feel rejected when affection is not initiated. Okay, when you know that what I need right now is some affection and you can't even initiate it, or you don't see that that's a need or a want right now. We may also feel unimportant when someone is busy or distracted. And that reaction, it may seem larger than the situation, but it's often connected to our older wounds that we have not addressed. And so without recognizing it, we may start looking to partners, to friends, to family members to fill those gaps up completely. And to be honest, we may also expect them to just instinctively know what we need or to provide constant reassurance, attention, or closeness. So I want to go into why the awareness is important for us. Recognizing where those needs come from is really important, because awareness gives us the choice. So really, when we understand that a reaction is rooted in an unmet need, we can pause and also respond more intentionally instead of reacting emotionally. I'm going to say that again, okay? When we understand that a reaction is rooted in our old unmet need, the childhood deficits, right? We can take a pause and respond more intentionally instead of reacting emotionally, because awareness also helps us separate our past from our present. You have to understand that the people in our lives now are not the same people who failed to meet our needs as children. We can't put the responsibility on people who come into our lives. They don't know the history or the patterns in which we were subject to. And so when we recognize all of this, we may unintentionally push the present day relationships to past experiences. Understanding our needs allows us to be responsible for them instead of unconsciously assigning that responsibility to others. That ain't their fault, right? That ain't their fault. There's a difference, between having needs and expecting others to manage them for us. And so when we expect someone to always meet all of our emotional needs without us communicating it clearly or being self-aware of what we have a deficit of, we set both ourselves and the other person up for failure. And no one can fully heal your childhood wounds but us. Support can help, my baby. Love can help. Connection can help. But the responsibility ultimately depends on our healing for us. Now, also, when we place the responsibility entirely on someone else, we may also become overly dependent. And this is important. We also become easily disappointed, or we become emotionally reactive. This can create pressure in a relationship and lead others to feel that they can never do enough. I'm going to let y'all sit with that one. Yeah. Because really, The best healthy relationships are built on shared effort, not pulling at someone who you feel like is obligated to meet you at your emotions. Now, there's an important place that we need to communicate these things and be honest about what we need and be upfront, but also giving grace because someone doesn't know the history of what we've gone through. So here's the thing. When we begin to understand that we have needs and we start reflecting, we got to ask ourselves, what am I actually needing right now? Okay? And is this about the present moment or does it connect to something older? Am I asking for someone to support me or am I expecting someone to fix me? So instead of you saying, to a partner or a friend that you never have time for me, I need you to change that and rearrange that and say that quality time for me, it helps me feel connected. And I would like to work on creating more of that together. Okay? Number one. All right, I'm giving you some tools. Number two, instead of you saying, you don't show me enough affection, we as women, baby, we can get a little rowdy. We put our whole back into it when we be saying stuff. You don't show me enough affection. Well, instead of saying that for someone who doesn't readily identify or understand an unmet need, say, perhaps, that physical touch is important to me. And I feel closer when it's a part of our connection. Using I statements always allows others to hear you without feeling attacked or inadequate. And it's also important to invite conversation, not you demanding change. Okay, listen, invite the conversation. Meet them at their level because then they can meet you. But you don't demand what you want. Healthy communication always leaves room for the other person to share the capacity, the boundaries, and the needs as well. And I want you to also think about this as well. See, part of the process of healing unmet childhood, it involves learning how to meet some of those needs yourself. So practicing things like self-soothing yourself when you feel emotionally triggered, okay? So you ain't pulling somebody else into your chaos or your feelings or your emotions. You got to figure out a way to self-soothe yourself. You're also going to give yourself affirmations instead of waiting on it from others, okay? The other thing is you got to build a support system instead of relying on one person. Because again, when you rely on one person, they become the fuel for your fire. You depend on them to always pour into your cup. And if you feel like it extends way beyond the realms of what you need and you don't have the capacity nor the know-how, I always say that seeking therapy or just trying to find someone who can help you with personal development to address those wounds deeper are best. Okay? So I want us to get better at indicating where our deficits are, but also giving ourselves grace. Because this is, once we have a realization of things, I always say, we never know what we don't know until we know it. And so the first time that there is an aha moment, you got to give yourself grace in that space because this is something different. But the most important thing with deficits that we know within ourselves is not to put the responsibility on someone else to fix. Okay, so we got one more person who called in, and I want to address this one as well.
Hello, Lisa Marie. My name is Kim. I thank and praise God for being able to be in tune to your podcast today on the title, We Attract What We Want, but Forget the Process. And to me, that was educational for me because as you were talking, I'm in that situation right now. And some days are good, some days are yet trying. But I thank and praise God just for the wisdom that you gave. And like you said, a lot of times we pray and ask God for these things. And sometimes we think it should happen in our timing, but nothing happens in our timing. And I found that out. I learned that I've been saved over 20 something years. And just recently, I fell back into a place where God had delivered me from. And I was able to see what I thought had died out or what was crucified within me. I saw those things begin to resurrect when I began to be attracted to a certain female, and in that it led me to a place of where I went into a place of being like self abandonment. I allowed things to go on, but at the same time, my convictions were yet strong, but yet and still, I still pursued. And so now I'm at the point now where I'm going on this emotional roller coaster ride. I have no doubts as far as when it comes down to my salvation or my relationship with the Lord. But now that it has ended and it's over with, now I'm trying to learn how to get back into the process of going back to a place of, like you say, normalcy, not just to the place of where I was, but where I need to be. And so I just ask for your help, even with the things that you said, even in the podcast. I took those nuggets and applied them to myself as well to start working on. And so, if any other advice that you can give, please do so. God bless you.
Hear honest conversations about anti-Semitism, new generations reshaping their connection to Jewish identity, and first-hand stories of how our community is supporting Israel. Subscribe to Mosaic, Exploring Jewish Issues on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or watch Mosaic at jewishpb.org.
All right. So, Kim, I want to thank you so much for sharing that, taking the time to speak on that as well. And I want to say this to you clearly and to anybody else as well. Falling back into something that God already delivered you from does not cancel your salvation. And it doesn't mean that your faith is not real. What it does mean is that there are some areas that you still need more healing and some self-awareness of. What stood out to me is that even while you were involved, your convictions were still there. And that really matters, because conviction means that God never left you. It also means that you were more aware, even if you didn't stop right when you did. And right now, the goal isn't to go back to who you used to be. The goal is to move forward with more clarity. And I want you to ask yourself what you really are looking for in that connection. Was it attention? Was it comfort? Was it validation? Was it a means to escape? Because once you understand that, you can start meeting your needs in healthier ways. And the thing about timing, healing does not move at our schedule. The process is going to take longer when we try to rush it or pretend that it doesn't affect us. And so since the relationship is over, this is something that you can work on now. Be honest with God about what happened without beating yourself up. Because listen, I say this many times, that we don't give ourselves enough grace in spaces where it's new to us. When we are going through healing, or we operate in a space where we have an aha moment, many times it is, I've never experienced this before, and now I gotta sit with this. But what I don't want us to do is beat ourselves up in the process. Like, we already have enough of what we tell ourselves that's wrong or what we could have done better. So I want you to give yourself some kind of grace. And I want you to also pay attention to the choices that I want you to pay attention to the choices that led to your self-abandonment. Okay? Because underneath that, there are some things that only right? So I want you to sit with that. I also want you to set some clear boundaries so that you don't repeat this situation again. I want you to give yourself some time to emotionally settle instead of jumping, right? To fix everything right then, because this does not define you. It's something you went through, and it's not who you are. And I want us to also look at this for a minute as well. In your case, it wasn't just attraction, it was your self-abandonment, that you say you allowed things even while your conviction was strong. That tells me that the issue wasn't confusion about right or wrong. It was just staying when you knew that you shouldn't. And that usually points out a deeper issue like fear of being alone, needing emotional connection, wanting to feel chosen or understood, and not wanting to disappoint someone else at the cost of disappointing yourself. And that's big. And that's the part that many times God reveals to us through situations. So I need you to analyze that one for a minute. I also want you to go through the process of this, because this is important. And this is not just Kim's situation, but this can also lead way to what many of us experience. We got to stop focusing on the attraction and start examining the pattern. Ask yourself, what made me override my own convictions, right? To move into something that ended up being uncomfortable and not justifiable for myself, my faith, or just who I'm becoming as a person. I need you to rebuild the trust with yourself, because right now you may be feeling unstable because you ignore your inner warnings for a while, and healing for you, it may look like, making these small, consistent choices that line up with your values again, but that's important. But also ask yourself, what are you doing on the back end? Do what you say you're going to do, even in the privacy of whether that is the connection of God or whether you are affirming to yourself, whatever that thing may be. The other thing is we got to create distance from our triggers. We all know what our triggers is, and triggers are not punishment, but it also protects us. And if certain conversations, places, people pull you back emotionally, you need space while you regain your balance. And I also would say, leading to that as well, that we have to, first of all, we have to identify our temptations. So we got to separate ourselves from temptations. Being tempted doesn't mean that you have failed God or that you're not who you say you are. Acting without boundaries is what causes the damage. And we have to learn the difference between the two so that you don't live in a space of shame. I think what's important as well is that we get accountable, gain accountability by being honest and not judgmental. And I say this in love, that we don't need people around us who tell us to pray harder about a situation. We need people who will help us recognize the early warning signs and call us out when we start minimizing things. So I would say to build a good support system as you are going through the process of renewing and relearning yourself, speaking to someone who is honest and going to be upfront, but not so preachy to where you feel like you cannot connect with a conversation, because there are some people who will come down on you harder than they have to, right? Any type of honesty hurts, but you also have to find the people who are not going to allow you to do a thing, but they're going to be on you like white on rice to make sure that you are not making bad decisions going forward. The other thing is, let this season reset your boundaries. You now know what happens when you don't protect yourself emotionally. And I need you to use this experience to decide what you will no longer tolerate. And not just in relationships, but in your own behavior. Because the emotional roller coaster that you're on right now is like part of the detox. So, sis, stay in the process. Do not rush it. And also don't let shame undo the clarity that you're gaining in this moment of your life right now. And I surely hope that I answered your question with clarity. I am a big proponent of grace. I'm also a big proponent of recognizing where we are in our own individual lives, testing the theories of how we move about in this world, and indicating where we need more help and assistance with. Your journey is your journey, right? So hopefully I I answered your question as thorough as possible. Okay, that was a good episode, baby. We got 2 questions and we answered it fully. And so I hope that you enjoyed this episode. This was good. This was great to intertwine you guys in this. So if you are new to the podcast or you want to know how to access this new feature, I need you to go to www.seasondialogue.com, and where there is the tab, I need you to scroll down. You'll see podcast and you'll see Season Dialogue by Lisa Marie. When you come down, you will notice that there is this little feature and it says record voice. I believe that's what it says. Record audio, and you just hit record. Now say this again. You do not have to say your name. You do not have to indicate who you are, but you do have to put your email address so that your audio recording can be sent to me. The other thing is, if you are a person who just needs a weekly reset, my baby, I need you to go to the Gentle Hours with Lisa Marie. So it is a new episode every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so it is a weekly reset for your morning routine, baby. If you are one of those who needs to invite slow mornings after your prayer, after sitting with yourself, whatever it is that you need to do, I invite you into this space. It's about 10 to 15 minutes of just resetting, recalibrating, sitting in peace, just allowing ourselves to be present without having to rush. And also, for those who are interested, I do have a subscription where you can get bedtime stories, okay? So that is every Monday night at 7 p.m. And those bedtime stories, just like the Gentle Hour morning, will be once a week. And yeah, so that's all I have. Thank you so much for tapping into the podcast. Thank you so much for just y'all being who y'all are, for really just being a good community. And that's what I want. I want to build a community with so many of you, and I'm just so happy that you're here. So without prolonging my babies, I thank you so much for being here, and y'all enjoy your week until next Wednesday. All right? Okay, bye-bye.